Cover zero. Cover zero represents the ultimate gamble in defensive football, a high-stakes strategy that strips away all safety nets for maximum pressure. Picture this. No safety help over the top, no last line of defense, just pure man-to-man coverage with every available defender either locked onto a receiver or charging full speed at the quarterback. It's defensive aggression taken to its absolute limit. The beauty and terror of cover zero lies in its chaos. When executed perfectly, it creates an overwhelming rush that leaves quarterbacks scrambling, forcing hurried throws, or taking punishing hits. The extra rushers, sometimes 6, 7, or even 8 players, create impossible math for offensive lines. But this aggression comes with a razor-thin margin for error. A single blown coverage or missed tackle can result in a receiver running completely free downfield with nothing but green grass ahead. You'll see cover zero deployed in crucial moments, third and long situations where defenses need immediate pressure, or late in games when coordinators need game-changing plays. Teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore Ravens have built reputations around these packages. The visual tells are unmistakable. Safeties creeping toward the line, cornerbacks press tight and bump coverage, and linebackers showing blitz. For quarterbacks facing this assault, success requires ice-cold decision-making and lightning-fast execution. Smart quarterbacks recognize the coverage pre-snap, identify their hot routes, and know exactly where their safety valve will be. Quick slants and outlet passes become lifelines. Elite quarterbacks like Mahomes and Rodgers have turned cover zero into opportunities, using hard counts or extending plays to find receivers who've beaten their coverage. When quarterbacks win these battles, it's often 6 points waiting to happen. Cover one. Cover one strikes the perfect balance between aggression and security. It's man-to-man coverage with a safety net. Picture one lone safety standing guard over the entire deep middle, while every other defender shadows their assigned receiver like a second shadow. This coverage is defensive confidence personified, with cornerbacks saying, "I can lock up my guy one-on-one," while knowing they have backup if things go sideways. The strength of cover one lies in its suffocating short game coverage. With defenders draped all over receivers, quarterbacks struggle to find easy completions underneath. Those quick slants, hitches, and bubble screens that offenses love suddenly become contested battles. But here's the gamble. If a receiver creates even a step of separation, it's essentially a foot race with only one safety standing between them and 6 points. Teams deploy cover one when they trust their cornerbacks in individual battles, typically on early downs, or when facing offenses that rely heavily on short, quick passing games. Elite corners like Jalen Ramsey and Stephon Gilmore have built careers dominating in this scheme. The telltale signs are unmistakable. One safety positioned like a center fielder, cornerbacks playing aggressive press coverage, and linebackers often showing run support or man coverage on tight ends and running backs. Smart quarterbacks attack cover one through calculated risks and precision. They'll use picks and rubs to create separation, target favorable matchups like speedy slots against linebackers, or employ double moves to beat press coverage. The key is manipulating that lone safety with eye movement and route combinations. Master this, and cover one becomes an opportunity rather than an obstacle. Cover one robber. Cover one robber is defensive deception at its finest. It looks like standard cover one, but hides a nasty surprise in the middle. While it appears you have the same single high safety and man coverage everywhere else, there's actually a defender playing possum in the intermediate zone, disguised as just another coverage player, but secretly hunting for interceptions. This coverage is psychological warfare, designed to exploit a quarterback's natural instincts and comfort throws. The robber defender, usually a safety linebacker or even a corner, positions himself roughly 8 to 12 yards deep, appearing to drift aimlessly while actually reading the quarterback's eyes and body language. His job is to let short routes develop, then break hard on anything thrown over the middle. It's the perfect trap for those money throws quarterbacks love, quick slants, shallow crosses, and drag routes that typically provide easy completions. When the robber times his jump perfectly, what looks like a routine completion turns into a pick six waiting to happen. The trade-off is significant, though. By dedicating one defender to robber duties, defenses sacrifice either deep help or run support, creating vulnerabilities elsewhere. Smart offensive coordinators will attack the sidelines where the robber can't reach, or use the robber's aggressive nature against him with double moves and pump fakes. You'll typically see this coverage against dink and dunk offenses or young quarterbacks who rely heavily on checkdowns and quick middle routes. For quarterbacks, the key is recognition and patience. The robber often reveals himself through subtle positioning or late movement. Once identified, the solution is attacking away from his zone, hitting comeback routes on the outside, throwing behind him to running backs, or using eye manipulation to freeze him before throwing to the opposite side of the field. Cover 2 zone. Cover 2 zone is the ultimate team defense, a coordinated effort where two safeties divide the deep field like security guards patrolling separate wings of a building. Each safety guards their deep half roughly 18 yards downfield, while 5 underneath defenders blanket short zones like a defensive net. It's designed to force offenses into the patient, methodical drives that test both skill and discipline. The beauty of Cover 2 lies in its suffocating coverage of quick passes and deep sideline routes. Those fade routes and comeback patterns that quarterbacks love to attack get squeezed out by the perfect positioning of safeties and corners working in tandem. Meanwhile, underneath defenders can be aggressive, knowing they have deep help, creating a swarm effect on short completions. But this coordination creates a critical weakness. The deep middle becomes a highway between the safeties, especially in that 12 to 20-yard window where neither safety can quite reach. Teams lean on Cover 2 zone against explosive passing offenses, or when they want to force longer drives and limit big plays. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Chicago Bears built championship defenses around this coverage. The visual cues are distinct: two safeties splitting the field deep, corners playing off coverage about 5 to 7 yards from receivers, and linebackers settling into defined zone responsibilities rather than rushing or covering specific players. Smart quarterbacks dissect Cover 2 through precision timing and route combinations. The money throw is hitting that seam route right between the safeties. It requires perfect timing and trust between quarterback and receiver. Alternatively, attacking with bunch formations and picks can create confusion in zone coverage, while quick-hitting routes to running backs exploit linebackers who are dropping deeper than usual into their zone responsibilities. Cover 2, man. Cover 2 man is the best of both defensive worlds. The relentless pressure of man coverage combined with the deep security blanket of two high safeties. Think of it as giving your cornerbacks a license to be ultra-aggressive while still having insurance policies patrolling the deep thirds. Every receiver gets a personal shadow, but those shadows know they have backup if a receiver somehow breaks free. This hybrid approach creates nightmare scenarios for quarterbacks. Unlike pure man coverage where beating one defender means potential touchdown territory, Cover 2 man forces offenses to win not just the individual battle, but also account for those roaming safeties ready to clean up any mistakes. The tight man coverage eliminates easy underneath routes while the deep help prevents explosive plays over the top. It's suffocating by design, forcing quarterbacks into perfect throws with minimal windows. But perfection comes with a price. The deep middle remains that familiar weak spot. The seam route that splits the safeties can still find success, especially against slower linebackers trying to match up with athletic tight ends or slot receivers. Additionally, all that man coverage means defenders have their backs to the quarterback, creating opportunities for mobile quarterbacks to scramble when protection breaks down. You'll see Cover 2 man deployed in obvious passing situations, particularly third and medium, where defenses want to challenge receivers individually while preventing disaster plays. Teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers have mastered this coverage with elite corners who thrive in press coverage. The key for quarterbacks is exploiting those crossing routes and rubs that naturally occur in man coverage, or simply extending plays with their legs when defenders lose track of the quarterback while focused on their receivers. Tampa 2. Tampa 2 is defensive chess at its finest, taking the foundation of Cover 2 and adding an ingenious wrinkle that transforms the coverage completely. While it starts exactly like regular Cover 2 zone, the magic happens when the middle linebacker abandons his traditional short coverage duties and drops deep into the heart of the formation, creating a three-safety triangle that blankets the entire deep field. It's named after the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who rode this coverage to a Super Bowl championship. The brilliance of Tampa 2 lies in how it eliminates Cover 2's Achilles heel, that deep middle seam that quarterbacks love to exploit. By having the middle linebacker patrol roughly 12 to 15 yards deep right between the safeties, defenses can now suffocate both the sidelines and the middle of the field simultaneously. Those tight end seams and slot receiver posts that used to carve up regular cover, two suddenly hit a brick wall in the form of an athletic linebacker with deep coverage responsibilities. However, this defensive evolution comes with its own vulnerability. With the middle linebacker vacating his short coverage, quick underneath routes and running lanes through the A-gaps become more accessible. Smart offensive coordinators will attack with bubble screens, running back checkdowns, and rapid-fire slants that exploit the temporary void left by the dropping linebacker. You'll recognize Tampa 2 by that distinctive linebacker drop. Watch for the Mike linebacker immediately retreating after the snap instead of reading run or covering short zones. Quarterbacks facing this coverage need patience and precision, often looking to attack the vacated short middle with crossing routes or using play action to freeze that dropping linebacker before he can reach his deep coverage responsibility. The key is recognizing the coverage quickly and hitting those underneath routes before the linebacker can recover. Cover 3. Cover 3 is the fortress defense of football. Three deep defenders standing guard like sentries along the back wall, making deep passes nearly impossible while maintaining enough troops up front to handle multiple threats. One safety anchors the middle third, while two cornerbacks patrol the outside thirds, each responsible for roughly 18 to 20 yards of deep territory. Meanwhile, four underneath defenders form a defensive web that can adapt to whatever the offense throws at them. This coverage represents the perfect balance between stopping explosive plays and maintaining run support. Those deep defenders essentially put a lid on any vertical passing attack, forcing offenses to earn every yard through patience and precision rather than big chunk plays. It's particularly devastating against offenses that rely on deep shots and home run balls, as quarterbacks quickly realize there's simply no room to operate over the top. But every fortress has its weak points. The intermediate zones, especially that 8 to 15-yard range between the deep thirds and underneath coverage, become prime real estate for savvy offenses. Quick bubble screens to the flats can exploit corners who are bail reading deep, while those in breaking routes at intermediate depth often find soft spots between zone responsibilities. You'll see cover 3 deployed heavily on first downs and balanced situations where defenses need to respect both run and pass equally. Teams like the Seattle Seahawks built their championship defense around this coverage with elite deep defenders. The visual tell is unmistakable. 3 defenders forming that deep wall across the field like a human fence. Smart quarterbacks attack cover 3 through horizontal stretches and intermediate routes, using bunch formations and rub routes to create confusion in those zone coverage gaps, or simply taking what the defense gives them with methodical underneath passing games. Cover 3 cloud. Cover 3 cloud is a defensive shapeshifter, taking the traditional 3-deep structure and morphing one side into something completely different. While maintaining the familiar 3-deep defenders, one cornerback abandons his deep third responsibility and drops down to become an underneath disruptor, hovering around 6 to 8 yards deep to jam receivers and terrorize short routes. Meanwhile, a safety seamlessly slides over to fill that vacated deep third, creating an asymmetrical coverage that keeps offenses guessing. This tactical shift serves multiple purposes beyond just mixing up the coverage picture. The cloud corner becomes a one-man wrecking crew against quick timing routes, bubble screens, and flat passes that normally stress traditional cover 3. He can press receivers at the line, disrupt routes, and provide immediate help against outside running plays. It's particularly effective against offenses that rely heavily on quick perimeter passes and struggle when their timing gets disrupted by physical coverage. However, this aggressive approach creates a critical window of vulnerability. The rotating safety must cover significant ground to reach his deep responsibility, creating a temporary soft spot for deep routes during that rotation. Sharp quarterbacks who recognize the coverage quickly can exploit this transition period with well-timed deep shots before the safety gets into position. You'll identify cover 3 cloud by the stark difference in corner alignments. One playing traditional off coverage, while the cloud corner sits much closer to the line of scrimmage. The key for quarterbacks is using pre-snap motion to identify which side has the cloud defender, then attacking the opposite deep third where the safety rotation creates the most stress. Quick hitting routes to the slot before the safety can settle, or double moves that exploit the cloud corner's aggressive positioning, often yield the biggest gains. Cover 4. Cover 4 is the ultimate prevent defense, a defensive fortress built specifically to eliminate explosive plays at all costs. Picture four defensive backs forming an impenetrable wall across the deep field, each guarding their own quarter of real estate about 15 to 18 yards downfield. With three underneath defenders filling the shorter zones, this coverage essentially puts a ceiling on any offensive attack, forcing everything to happen in slow motion underneath. This coverage philosophy is beautifully simple. Trade easy short completions for the guarantee that nothing catastrophic happens over the top. Those deep crossing routes, comeback patterns, and fade balls that can instantly change games become virtually impossible to complete. It's the defensive equivalent of playing not to lose, sacrificing aggressive playmaking for rock-solid security. Quarterbacks quickly realize they're facing a brick wall when looking downfield, with four sets of eyes tracking every vertical route. The strategic cost is significant, though. With four defenders committed to deep coverage, the underneath areas become a playground for patient offenses. Running lanes open up, short slants become automatic, and checkdowns to running backs can turn into longer gains when only three defenders patrol the short zones. Smart offensive coordinators will exploit this numbers disadvantage relentlessly. You'll see cover four deployed in obvious big play prevention situations, late game scenarios where teams need to protect leads, or third and very long, where the defense can afford to give up modest completions. The visual signature is unmistakable. Four defenders positioned like chess pieces across the back of the defense. Against this coverage, successful quarterbacks become methodical surgeons, dissecting the defense with short, quick completions while patiently waiting for those deep defenders to eventually abandon their posts out of frustration with the steady underneath attack. Cover 6. Cover 6 is defensive trickery at its most sophisticated, a split personality coverage that shows quarterbacks two completely different defensive concepts on the same play. One side of the field operates under cover two rules with a single deep safety, while the opposite side functions as cover 4 with two deep defenders splitting their responsibilities. It's like having two different defenses running simultaneously, designed to create maximum confusion and indecision at the line of scrimmage. This schizophrenic approach serves a brilliant purpose. It eliminates the quarterback's ability to make simple pre-snap reads based on safety positioning. Where traditional coverages present uniform looks across the field, cover 6 forces quarterbacks to process multiple coverage concepts simultaneously. The result is hesitation, confusion, and often poor decision-making as quarterbacks struggle to identify which rules apply to which side of the field during their rapid pre-snap diagnosis. The complexity that makes cover 6 so effective also creates its biggest weakness. Communication becomes critical when different defenders are operating under different coverage rules on the same play. Blown assignments become more likely when safeties and corners must remember which side they're responsible for and which coverage concept they're executing. Additionally, smart offensive coordinators can exploit the asymmetrical nature by creating route combinations that stress both coverage types simultaneously. You'll spot cover 6 by the uneven safety distribution. One side with a single high safety, while the other shows two safeties splitting the deep coverage. The most successful approach against this coverage is quick identification through pre-snap motion, then attacking the specific vulnerabilities of each side. The cover 2 side remains susceptible to deep middle routes and vertical seams, while the cover 4 side offers opportunities underneath where fewer defenders patrol the short zones. Which defensive coverage do you think is most effective? Leave a comment and let us know. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button and subscribe for more football playbook breakdowns. See you in the next video.